All right, today we're going to talk about internet upgrades. I'm going to swap out our existing Peplink Balance 20X for this new Peplink B One 5G, along with a MobileMustHave multi-carrier RoamLink service plan. Stick around, we'll check it out. I'm going to show you how to integrate Starlink, all that fun stuff. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today, Ellen and I are in Portsmouth, Rhode Island at the Newport RV Park. And we're going to talk about upgrading our internet service today. So let me tell you what's going on. We currently have a Peplink Balance 20X, which for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a router and Wi-Fi device that will let you take in multiple service providers such as T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, Starlink, whoever you might have, and allow you to combine those services all together so that they will automatically fail over. If one fails, the other one will take over automatically. You can also do some bonding and things like that, but that's not the topic of this video really. What we're talking about is the need for us to upgrade, and it's really not a need, it's more me just being a tech geek. So right now the services all work great. You know, they're spotty in different areas, right? Some work better in some areas and others don't, etc. The device that we use, that Balance 20X, is actually capable of taking a SIM card and connecting to the cellular service as well, but it's a 4G or an LTE. It's not 5G, so the performance would be a little iffy. And I've never really used it like that. But that T-Mobile 5G service that we got, which started off as $50 a month and you can move it around the country, the word on the street is that that service plan is going away. At least the functionality of you being able to move it around the country for $50, right, a month. They're going to up that to $165, and that's not worth it to us. I already pay $165 as of September 2024 for the Starlink service, and that's unlimited service. The T-Mobile was unlimited for $50, so that was a pretty good deal. But we're going to need to probably replace that because we're in Starlink. I can't get out from under the trees. I need to rely on some cellular-based service, and I don't want to rely on just one. So the Peplink company has come out with a new device. It's called the B One 5G, and that's a 5G capable device. So I can put a SIM card in there and get access to a 5G service provider. Well, MobileMustHave, who sells Peplink devices, and they're also a service provider, have come up with a new plan called RoamLink, which is a SIM-based cellular service, internet service. And what it does is you put that SIM in to the proper type of device, and the Peplink B1G 5G is one of those devices, and it will choose the best carrier and the strongest signal in the area you're in, whether it be T-Mobile, Verizon, or AT&T. And that service, the one I have, is $100 a month for, I think, 100 gig, which is fine because we're going to use that as kind of our secondary as we rely on Starlink mostly. That's why I'm going to switch out the Peplink Balance 20 for the B One 5G because it has more capabilities. And yeah, that's about it there. So otherwise, the services work great. All of them, like I said, some work better in other areas and stuff like that. So I'm going to try to keep at least 3 different providers, a 5G provider, the Starlink provider, and then another 5G provider, right? So 3 of them. All right, so let me show you my current setup, how I got it set up in the rig, and then I'll show you the new B1. I'll show you the connections, how they're all bonded together. I won't go into the configuration stuff, but I'll give you a good idea of what this stuff all looks like. It's going to seem like it's complex, but it's really not. MobileMustHave does a great job at helping you set things up if you need it. I relied on them a couple of times in the very beginning when it was all new to me, but from there on out I was on my own and did fine. So yeah, this is not sponsored by Peplink or MobileMustHave. I just like their services, and I'll put some links down below for some other information and resources so you can do your own research to pick out the internet services that are great for you. All right, stick around. All right, let me show you my current setup. I have a couple of videos of how I've done all this. This is in our Riverstone 39 RKFB in the half bath. Above the washer and dryer there is this cabinet. I put in some stereo cabinet fans here for ventilation. Let me show you what I got inside. Put a little light up there, a couple of holes over here for ventilation. And we have the Peplink Balance 20X with its 5G antennas, its Wi-Fi 5G antennas. I don't have cellular enabled in that. There's the Verizon 5G business service, and here is the T-Mobile 5G service, which is giving me this little attention. There's something going on. I don't know what that's about, but it might be because they're trying to enforce that geofencing that I mentioned earlier. And then of course I have this Starlink Gen 3, and this is the cable that goes out to the Starlink antenna, which is on a flagpole buddy off my ladder off the back of the rig. And then I have an access point, Wi-Fi access point, down in the basement storage where I can take that out so I can get a little bit better internet connectivity when we're sitting out there if the signal isn't strong enough from this Wi-Fi here. So that is that. Let me show you the new Peplink. This is the old one. Here's the new one. I don't have the antennas on it, but you can see it is essentially the same size. As a matter of fact, it is identical in size. In the front, it has the Wi-Fi antennas, some status lights, instead of the USB there, it has USB-C. And then on the back, it has connections for 2 wired WAN. And I think it gives you, with the licensing, you can turn one of these into another wired LAN port. And then we have the cellular antennas that go there, and then of course the power supply. So what I'm going to do is I've got that RoamLink SIM. I'm going to go plug that in, power this up, and start configuring it. As I said earlier, this isn't a video about configuring these devices. I'm just kind of giving you a layout of what we're doing for our internet connectivity and stuff like that. All right, so I'll do a little unboxing here of the Peplink B One 5G. Here it is, serial number, all that kind of stuff. Get the cute little box, right? Here's the device itself, a little quick start guide. And let's see. All right, I kind of already showed you that. There you go. And then of course, they'll have a bunch of antennas in here, power supply, and some loop lock, tie things together. And they have what in here? Oh, a few different adapters for the power supply in case you're in Europe and ordering this, I guess. And then the SIM ejection tool. All right, so getting it set up with the antennas is pretty easy. I'm sure they're all labeled. Let's see, this one says this is a 0.66G, so that's Wi-Fi. This one is Wi-Fi. Oh, actually, looks like, yeah, those are all cellular actually, and these are the Wi-Fi. So these operate in a range of 0.6 to 6G. All right, so these must go on the front. There's Wi-Fi antenna A. This is fun to watch, huh? Like everybody does the unboxing and does this stuff. Let's see if I can talk about anything interesting while I'm doing this. Probably not, but I guess a couple pointers is if you do get a SIM card, it is always important to make sure that the SIM card is active before you put it into the device. When you buy the card, it's generally not active, so you will have to work with your carrier, your service provider, to have them activate it for you. Wait until it's activated, until they tell you it's activated, and then go ahead and plug it in. And I know mine's been activated. I opened up a ticket with MobileMustHave yesterday. They say it takes 24 to 72 hours to get the activation. I put it in late last night, and I got an email this morning around 10 a.m. saying, yep, you're all set, ready to rock and roll. So I'll show you how to put that card in here in a second once I get these antennas on. And I will have that Balance 20X available for sale if anybody wants it. You can reach out to me. It has some good licensing on it for SpeedFusion Connect, which I'm not going to talk too much about, but it's a way of bonding those connections for higher reliability. It gives you a little bit of kind of VPN access capability as well. You can do some research on that. There's tons and tons of other videos out there about that kind of stuff. And yeah, and it works really well. I use it quite a bit. Sometimes it gives me a hassle when I'm trying to manage some servers, but that's because of all my security stuff. There you go. This is what this is going to look like once I get it up in that cabinet. It'll still fit up in my cabinet pretty good. 4 antennas in the back. Now I may, in the future, seeing these are the cellular antennas, and I'm in that cabinet so close to my roof, I may pop a hole through the roof and put an external antenna so I can get a little bit more coverage or reception and transmission up outside rather than having to come through the rig. All right, so let me show you that SIM card. Here's my SIM card. They give it to you on a card, and there's obviously 3 different sizes. I forget the sizes they call it. They call it full size, micro, and nano. And it looks like this is a full size. And you definitely have to use the tool to eject it. Where did I put the tool? Don't know where I put the tool, but the tool is escaping me, floating around here somewhere. So I'll eject that and put that in, and I don't know what I'll show you next, but maybe I'll show you my current connectivity, show you how it's working. All right, so somebody could have told me that it was under it. Here we go. Now I can't get it out of the damn package. Oh man, yeah, it's like Fort Knox, man. Okay, what an idiot. All right, so let's see. Push this in there, it pops it out, and let's see what size it'll take. Oh, it'll take actually 2 of the nano size. So what I'll do is I'll take and pop it out of this full size, and it should just pop out. There you go. And I think you have to pop off the other side so that it'll actually fit. Well, I'm not sure which side I put it in. I'm going to consider this the A. Oh yeah, the A side. It is designated here A. So I'm going to put it in the A position. Only goes in one way, and then I will plug that in. It's in there, and now if I fire it up, I should be able to connect to it with the default Wi-Fi password, which is probably back here. Yep, I can see the AP password is there. So I will fire up my laptop and see if I can connect to it and take a look. I'll probably have. Okay, so I showed you the physical setup of the existing Balance 20X up in the cabinet. So let me log in and I'll show you what it looks like from the interface. Here we go. So you can see here that I have 3 wired connections. I have Starlink wired in. I have the T-Mobile 5G service. I have that wired in. And then I have the Verizon business 5G service. I have that wired in as well. So the Verizon is not broadcasting any Wi-Fi, so I'm just using it hardwired in, which is a mode you can set on that particular device. The T-Mobile doesn't let you do that, so that is also broadcasting a separate SSID for it, but I do have it wired in as well into this Peplink device. So the Peplink device sees them as just physical WAN connections. All right, and you can see I'll do a little speed test. I don't know which service it's actually preferring right now, but we'll give it a test. It looks like it's Verizon. So we'll do a little test here. A few minutes ago I tested and it was like almost 200 megabits per second. We'll see what it is now. Okay, so it's up well over 200 anyhow. Might settle down, it looks like it. But alright, so that was like 170 by, take a guess, anybody want to gamble? Oh, look at that, it's popping up. Let's call it 18 by the time it's done, I bet. Takes so long. Alright, 19. So 170. So what I'm going to do is, let's make the assumption that Verizon wasn't available here, right? And we'll basically put in disabled mode. Now go and I'll refresh to do another speed test. It might take a minute or two for it to figure out that I've changed carriers. So now I'm using T-Mobile. And let's see what T-Mobile comes out. That was VZ. So T-Mobile is respectable as well. Not quite as fast as VZ, Verizon in this particular moment, but this is all, I want to say it's almost subjective, right? You can't depend on these speeds all the time. Things change. It's a very dynamic environment, very dynamic service, a lot of dependencies, a lot of variables. All right, so that's like 133 and 23 on T-Mobile. Now what I'll do is let me disable T-Mobile and we'll check out Starlink. Again, we'll refresh here. Again, it's going to take a second to figure it out. Okay, now it sees Starlink. Starlink, again, respectable. Dropping a little bit. All right, so 67. And this is going to be around 30 or so. 25, 24. All right, and 23. Okay, so 3 different carriers, 3 different speeds. It's important for you to understand that. That doesn't mean that any one of these is better than the other constantly. That's just in this particular location at this particular point in time. This could flip dramatically within the next 5 minutes or next hour or not at all. So you need to be very aware of that when you're trying to make a decision of what's best. Some people will say, oh, I'm using T-Mobile and it's fantastic. Well, yeah, in that place right now. T-Mobile works great for us in a lot of areas around the country, as does Verizon, as does Starlink. They all vary. That's why I have 3, because you can't depend on any of them completely, generally speaking. Okay? All right, so now what I'll do is let me switch over to my new Peplink, the B1 5G, and we will log into that. I remember the IP address of it. Might have to log in. Nope, it's already there. So right now, you can see that it has automatically connected to this RoamLink service. Now, all I did power this up and I configured it with the SSID, the password for that, and set a password so I could log into it. But I did nothing else to configure the connectivity in it. I just put that SIM card in, as you saw. Because it was pre-activated, everything just came to life. And here we are. I don't know which carrier we are on. It could be Verizon, it could be T-Mobile, or it could be AT&T. I haven't figured out enough of this device to see if I can actually figure that out, but it doesn't really much matter. Okay, I'm using RoamLink. They're taking care of that back channel communication for us. So let's do a speed test on this and see how it turns out. Again, it'll take a second. There you go. Look, it says RoamLink. So they are one of these virtual service providers. And let's see what they get for speed. All right. Wow, look at that. So 290, 300. Very respectable. So, okay, so 3:30. All right, and 15. Okay, so there you go again. So that it was the best out of all of them so far. But again, that is very subjective. This is the best right now, right here, right now, right? And now I don't know which carrier that's up against. That could be up against T-Mobile's tower, or Verizon's tower, or AT&T's tower. One of those. Now, why is it faster? Well, maybe AT&T isn't saturated. Maybe Verizon's tower is not saturated. Maybe T-Mobile's not. Whichever one it is. Or maybe it's their backhauls, which is from the carrier's network across to the handoffs to RoamLink or MobileMustHave services. Maybe those pipes aren't saturated. Maybe they got plenty of traffic because they don't have a whole lot of subscribers yet. Maybe that's why they don't have any congestion on the network. Who knows? I don't know. I can only speculate. But right now, this is a very respectable service, so I'm quite pleased with it. Hopefully, as we move around the country, that will be maintained. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some configuration changes on it. I'm going to move my existing SSID over to it. I'm going to move my other Verizon connection, my T-Mobile connection, and my Starlink connection all over into this device, and then I'll be ready to go. And I'll show you what that looks like once I get that all set up. Alright, so I have the new unit set up and put up in the cabinet where I showed you, and I've got a basic configuration done. All of the connections are brought into the unit. So let me show you what we've got. We'll do a couple of speed tests and see how it goes. Alright, let me get logged in. Alright, so right now I'm connected with the RoamLink multi-carrier, and it has chosen T-Mobile as the best provider in the area right now. So let's do a little speed test and see what that's doing. There we go. It does show RoamLink. Let's see what it tests out at. Alright, so right now it is not as good as it was yesterday, and not as good as it was earlier this morning when I did a test, but still respectable at 77 megabits per second. That'll get the job done. And it looks like the upload is going somewhere between 7 and 8, which is certainly respectable as well. So that's all good for streaming, video conferencing, email, all that general stuff, web browsing, etc. All right, so now let me close out of that one. I'll open up a new one in a second. Let's try, seeing as RoamLink was using T-Mobile, let's see what T-Mobile is direct. I'll let that get warmed up here. All right, it's connected. So we're on T-Mobile. Let's get the test going. Wow, okay, so T-Mobile Direct is kicking butt at 300 or so megabits per second. So the question becomes, if RoamLink is using T-Mobile, and they were only at 77 megabits per second, and T-Mobile Direct is up over 285 megabits per second, why the difference? Well, it could be a number of different things. It could be that the way that RoamLink, maybe they're saturated, maybe their pipe from the carrier to their network access point is saturated, or the network access point or the peering point that they're using is saturated. Traffic's being routed around differently. So a whole lot of different things there. I'm just speculating, but those are kind of some of the things. It's either saturation or or congestion at one of the network access points. That's generally what it comes down to. Or there's a device failed and it's self-healing and working around. A whole lot of different things that could be going on. All right, so let's check and see what Verizon's doing. Wait for that to get connected. All right. Verizon, doing all right, up over 100. I'm also looking at the ping time in the latency here. Typically you want to be under 100 milliseconds, but that's going to fluctuate too. So that's always subjective point in time type of stuff. All right, so that was all right. Let us take that out. Oh, let me put Starlink up here now and take Verizon off. And let's see. Now for Starlink here, I've got unobstructed view to the sky, and I've had very few interruptions. Starlink does interrupt every now and then for just a couple of seconds. You barely even notice it, if you notice it at all. I really don't ever notice it unless I look in the logs, and I can see that it blips. Typically it'll reset or download some updates overnight, and that may cause it to reboot. That's far and few between, but maybe it's not that far and few between. It happens. All right, so there, I think, well, the T-Mobile was at 288 and Starlink is at 284. So all respectable levels of service here. They're all great for doing video streaming, conferencing, all your standard browsing and stuff like that. So what you can see though is that, people go out there and ask an opinion. Hey, what's the best internet service to use? And people will all chime in. You'll hear somebody will say T-Mobile. Sometimes it's AT&T. Sometimes it's Verizon. Sometimes it's just Starlink. Sometimes it's this and that. It's one of these other carriers that are aggregating or being a multi-carrier SIM type service, such as RoamLink, and they'll say that's the best. Well, it's all very subjective. It's different. Yesterday, the leader of the pack and all of these, I think, was RoamLink, and I didn't know which carrier it was using. It was probably using T-Mobile. Today, it's a toss-up between Verizon and Starlink. So, we're in a really good area, but we've been in places where we can't get Starlink because of the obstructions. We've had places where both T-Mobile and Verizon were, spotty, and we actually had to go and use Spectrum and have them install a cable connection for us, which they let you do that for a month, Spectrum up there in Maine, which was very convenient. So my point is that it's very, very subjective. You have to kind of, if you rely on the internet like Ellen and I do, I'm doing my IT consulting work. I'm a network architect for a large global manufacturer, and I do part-time work for them, but I'm relying on the internet heavily when I am working for them to get to the devices, to manage their network and things like that. I do the RV tech business, and I'm always doing research and pulling up manuals and searching for parts and things like that, so I rely on it heavily for that. And then of course we do the YouTube videos, but then Ellen, working full-time for a corporation, she is online all day long using video conferencing, Teams, whatnot, doing her emails, all that kind of stuff. So she is really depends on it. Now, if you depend on it like that, you're going to have to find some type of solution, do your own research. This is just one way of doing it. There's a number of ways. This is not the most cost-effective way to do it, but I need that reliability. And I got $600 into the piece of equipment, and then I've got Starlink at $165. I've got Verizon at about $32, RoamLink at $100, and T-Mobile currently at $50. A couple of those are going to go away. The RoamLink is kind of redundant to the Verizon and the T-Mobile, so I may be able to get rid of those, and then that kind of nets me down. So those are the things you got to be concerned with. What your monthly budget is, how much you're going to rely on it, how much you actually need it. All right, what else do I got to say? I think that is about it. Oh, and if you are in the weeds and you don't want to use Mobile or Resource Center or MobileMustHave and you're trying to figure out what to do, I do offer a service as well. I've got about 40 years in telecommunications, network engineering, and internet service businesses. So I do offer a service where I can help you get out of the weeds. If you're interested in something like that, you can click on the link below that I've put in. That'll let you get in touch with me and we can talk about what your needs are and I'll help you kind of sort it all out. All right, I think that is all I have for today. As usual, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. And if you think anybody else will get value from this content, please share it out to them. And important note, a lot of people come here and don't subscribe. Maybe that's because the content isn't that good. But if you got any value at all, please do subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. All right, hope to see you in the next one. Take care.